All right, let's jump right into this deep dive on accountability. Specifically, we're looking at this issue of the Spizz Newsletter by Twisty. It's called The Art of Accountability, and it's definitely got a unique style, like kind of a no holds barred approach, you know?
Yeah, definitely not pulling any punches.
Exactly. So are you ready to unpack some of this unconventional advice with me?
Absolutely. What really stands out to me is how Twisty goes beyond just the practical stuff.
Hmm.
He really gets into the emotional and psychological aspects of accountability,
Hmm.
which, those are often the things we tend to overlook.
Right. It's not just about systems and to-do lists, it's about mindset too. And
Uh-huh.
speaking of mindset, he makes this really interesting distinction between commitment and accountability right off the bat. He describes commitment as, and I'm quoting here, I have no fucking choice. Pretty strong words, right?
Yeah, no mincing words there.
But it really gets to the heart of that internal drive, that feeling of like this has to happen, there's no other option.
It's that pure intrinsic motivation, that fire within that pushes you forward.
Exactly. And then he contrasts that with accountability, which he defines as because no one will let me.
Uh-huh. So that's where the external pressure comes in.
Yeah, it's about having those systems, those people in place
Yeah.
who help you stay on track even when, you just want to give up.
It's like having that extra support system to keep you moving forward when you might falter.
And to really illustrate this, he uses this powerful metaphor. He says, actually, your calendar is the most honest autobiography you will ever write.
Hmm.
What do you make of that?
Wow. It's a pretty striking image, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
It's like our calendars, they reveal our true priorities, not just our good intentions.
Right. It's not just about what we say we want to do. It's about how we actually spend our time.
We might say, we want to prioritize our health, for example. But if our calendars are jam-packed with work and social commitments, and there's like no time blocked for exercise, well,
Yeah, that tells a different story.
it does. The calendar becomes this mirror, kind of exposing any self-deception we might be clinging to.
Oof, that can be uncomfortable to face.
It can.
Yeah.
But it also gives us that chance to realign our actions with what we truly value.
To get real with ourselves.
Exactly. And then Twisty, he takes this even further and challenges the whole idea of relying on accountability buddies.
Yeah, this is where his approach really starts to diverge from, like, the conventional wisdom.
Right. He thinks that those comfortable partnerships, they might not provide enough of a challenge. The kind of challenge that's needed for real growth.
He suggests seeking out environments that really push you, like high-level masterminds or coaching instead.
Environments that push you outside your comfort zone.
Exactly. Have you ever experienced that, like that kind of discomfort actually leading to positive change?
Oh, absolutely. I think, there's something about stepping outside of what you're used to.
Hmm.
It can be a real catalyst for growth. It's like you're forced to adapt and rise to the occasion.
And there's also that element of like external pressure, that feeling of, I can't let these people down. It can really push you to perform at your best.
For sure. And of course, Twisty, he adds his own humorous spin on this.
Yeah.
He suggests that maybe your accountability buddy, quote, killed you in a past life. And now you both need to overcome those shared fears.
He always has that playful edge, doesn't he?
He does. But even with the humor, there's that deeper point about, how past experiences,
Hmm.
even those we're not consciously aware of, they can really impact our present behavior.
It's like those hidden patterns playing out in our lives.
And it actually connects with his idea of putting skin in the game financially to boost commitment.
Right. He talks about how investing money, like literally putting your money where your mouth is, can increase your motivation to follow through on your goals.
It's almost like that financial investment acts as this tangible reminder of what's at stake, wouldn't you say?
It's like, okay, I'm serious about this. I've put my money down.
Exactly. And there's actually a psychological principle at play here called the sunk cost fallacy. The more we invest in something, the less likely we are to abandon it, even if it's not, even if it's not serving us well anymore.
It's like we're more likely to double down to try to justify that initial investment.
And Twisty actually shares his own experiences with this. He talks about investing in accountability systems, hiring a team, bringing on new advisors. He's really putting his money where his mouth is.
So he's not just talking the talk, he's walking the walk.
Exactly. But even with all these external systems in place, he emphasizes that it ultimately comes down to having a powerful WYY.
That deep driving purpose behind everything you do.
Absolutely. Without a strong WYY, it's so easy to lose steam, especially when faced with obstacles.
Right. Like, why am I even doing this?
But when you have a purpose that truly resonates with you, it fuels your resilience, it keeps you going.
It's what gets you out of bed in the morning. And to really highlight this, he outlines what happens when you have one without the other. He writes, accountability without commitment equals compliance. People might check the boxes and meet the deadlines, but they won't bring their best effort or creativity. There's no emotional investment, just task completion. But then, on the flip side, commitment without accountability equals chaos. Even the most passionate individuals can falter without a system to measure progress, set boundaries, and ensure consistency. Enthusiasm without structure often leads to burnout or lack of focus.
It's fascinating, isn't it? You need both sides of the equation.
You really do, that internal drive and that external support.
And that WHY, that's what connects them. That's what provides the foundation for real sustainable progress.
It's like that North Star guiding you through all the ups and downs, reminding you why you started on this journey in the first place. Now, I'm really curious to hear what you think about some of Twisty's more unconventional accountability suggestions.
Well, he definitely has some unique ideas, to say the least, and some might be a bit more controversial than others. Like, he suggests joining a real mastermind group that will scare the shit out of you with their focus and playing field.
Oh, wow.
That sounds pretty intense.
It does. It makes you wonder, like, what would it actually be like to be surrounded by people operating at that level and intensity, you know?
All right.
He also mentions coaches, like Joe Sess, Billy Chow, or even the mogul Dr. Amanda, as he calls her, and even, like, enrolling in a systematized growth program as ways to really up your accountability game. What are your thoughts on that kind of structured support system?
Well, I think it really depends on, the individual and their learning style.
Yeah.
Some people really thrive in those structured environments, while others, they might find them a bit too restrictive.
Right, right.
But I think the underlying principle is really interesting. It's about seeking out that external support that challenges you to grow beyond those perceived limitations, those self-imposed boundaries.
To break free from the comfort zone.
Exactly. And then he also advocates for, well, as he puts it, healing some shit.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He acknowledges that, past traumas and unresolved issues, they can really sabotage our efforts to be accountable.
They can hold us back without us even realizing it, right?
Absolutely. It's like those old wounds are still festering beneath the surface, and they're affecting our behavior in ways we might not even be aware of.
And that ties in directly to his point about fear being a major obstacle to accountability.
Right. He talked about how fear can, like, paralyze us, keep us from taking risks and going after what we really want in life.
It keeps us stuck.
It does. He even suggested some of these fears might stem from experiences that happened years ago, maybe even, as he puts it, in past lives.
Ooh, that's getting a little out there.
It does sound a bit far out.
But the core idea, though, that our past experiences shape our present behavior, I mean, that's something that a lot of psychologists would agree on.
Right. It's about those patterns, those unconscious beliefs that we carry with us.
It makes you think about those limiting beliefs we all have, those I'm not good enough or I'll never be able to do that thoughts. Where does those come from?
Exactly.
Maybe some of them are rooted in experiences we've long forgotten.
It's definitely something to consider.
Yeah.
And, Twisty doesn't really offer any easy answers here. He acknowledges that healing is a process, and it often requires us to confront those deep-seated fears and really work through those emotional blocks.
Which can be really challenging.
It can be.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can feel overwhelming. Like, where do you even begin?
Right. How do you actually do that?
Exactly.
Well, he does give a few suggestions. He talks about creating a system that feels like, and I'm quoting here, a prison with furloughs.
A prison with furloughs, so.
Yeah, which sounds a little extreme, I know. But I think the idea is to create a structure that provides both support and boundaries.
It's about finding that balance, right?
Yeah. Right, like you have the freedom to operate within certain parameters, but there are consequences if you step outside those boundaries.
He also emphasizes the importance of having rewards in place for when you succeed. And as he puts it, whips and chains for when you don't.
Oh my gosh.
Metaphorically speaking, of course.
Yeah, we're not talking about actual whips and chains here, but it reminds me of like those behavioral psychology principles, positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement,
Right. It's about finding that sweet spot between pushing ourselves and rewarding ourselves.
Exactly.
It's about creating a system that works for you, one that keeps you motivated and on track without feeling punishing or restrictive.
It has to be sustainable.
It does.
Right.
He even suggests finding a what he calls a growth coordinator.
A growth coordinator.
Yeah, which, I mean, that sounds like a pretty fascinating concept.
It does. What do you think that even looks like?
Well, it's almost like having a personal accountability coach.
Yeah.
Someone who helps you navigate the ups and downs of growth.
Like through all the messy parts.
Exactly. And he actually shares an experience that that I found really relatable. He talks about feeling intimidated by the success of some of the people he was masterminding with. He admits, and I'm quoting here, I freaked out a little this summer when I was sitting with dudes putting $50K a month in NIL money to their favorite schools and own 27 car dealerships.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of refreshing to hear that even someone as successful as him can still experience those feelings of self-doubt. You know?
Yeah, that comparison trap can get anyone.
It can. And I think it's a good reminder that, comparison is the thief of joy, as they say.
It's so true.
It's easy to get caught up in what other people are doing, especially in today's world where we're constantly bombarded with images of success and, those highlight reels on social media.
It's curated perfection everywhere you look.
Exactly. But that kind of comparison often just leads to, negative self-talk.
Yeah.
It can really derail your own progress.
It can make you feel like you're not enough.
Exactly. Do you ever find yourself falling into that trap?
Oh, absolutely. I think we all do from time to time. But it's important to remember that everyone's journey is unique. What might look like success from the outside could be a completely different story behind the scenes.
Right.
It's about staying focused on your own path and celebrating your own wins, no matter how big or small they may seem.
And remembering that, growth is a lifelong process. There's always going to be something new to learn, new challenges to overcome.
There's no finish line.
Exactly. It's about embracing that journey with all its ups and downs and recognizing that the setbacks are just as important as the victories.
They're all part of the process.
They are.
It's about embracing the messiness of it all and understanding that those messy, uncomfortable moments, those are often where the most profound growth happens.
I think that's so true.
It's in those moments when we're pushed outside of our comfort zones
Yeah.
that we really discover our true strength and resilience.
In Twisty, he captures this perfectly with the phrase, fear X fear is fuckhead.
I love that.
I love that too.
It's so true.
It's like fear multiplied by fear just creates this this downward spiral of doubt and inaction.
It just compounds itself.
Exactly.
So we have to find ways to manage that fear, to not let it control our decisions and hold us back from pursuing our dreams.
Right. Whether it's through mindfulness, positive self-talk, or surrounding ourselves with supportive people. There's so many tools and strategies we can use to break free from that grip of fear and step into our power.
To reclaim our agency.
Exactly. And, even with all the tools and strategies in the world, sometimes the simplest questions are the most powerful.
Yeah.
Twisty asks, am I overcommitted? Which is something we should all ask ourselves regularly, I think.
Oh, absolutely. It's so easy to fall into that trap of saying yes to everything, to feel like we need to be, busy and productive all the time.
A hustle culture mentality.
Yeah. But overcommitting, it can lead to burnout, resentment, and ultimately it can sabotage our ability to be truly accountable to the things that actually matter most.
It's about learning to set healthy boundaries.
Yes.
And prioritize our time and energy in a way that aligns with our values and our goals.
To make sure we're actually spending our time on the things that light us up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about saying no to the things that don't serve us. So we can say a resounding yes to the things that bring us closer to our true purpose.
It's about creating a life that feels both fulfilling and sustainable, where we have the space and energy to pursue our passions, nurture our relationships, and make a meaningful impact on the world.
That's beautifully said.
So as we're kind of wrapping up this exploration of Twisty's The Art of Accountability, what are some key takeaways that really stand out to you?
Well, for me, it's the importance of having that powerful why at the core of everything we do. Without that clear sense of purpose, it's so easy to get lost in the weeds and just lose motivation when things get tough.
I completely agree. And I love his emphasis on creating a system that works for you, whether that's investing financially, finding a mentor, joining a mastermind group, or even, creating that structured reward and consequence system. It's about taking ownership of your own accountability journey and seeking out the support you need to thrive.
Right. And it's also about recognizing that accountability isn't just about external factors. It's also about that internal work. healing old wounds,
Yeah.
confronting those limiting beliefs,
Yeah.
and cultivating that mindset of growth and resilience.
It's about the inner and the outer working together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's about embracing the journey with all its imperfections and setbacks, and realizing that those experiences are often our greatest teachers.
It's about learning and growing from those challenges.
Exactly. And, I think it's also about being able to laugh at ourselves along the way. Because, let's face it, life can be pretty absurd sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
And who better to guide us through that absurdity than Twisty? With his unique brand of humor and no-holds-barred approach to personal growth.
He definitely doesn't sugarcoat anything.
He doesn't. Yeah, he really keeps it real.
He does. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Twisty's The Art of Accountability, is there like a final thought-provoking nugget you want to leave our listener with?
Well, one thing that really stuck with me is his advice to plan and plot your rewards when you do. Find your whip and chains for when you don't.
Ooh, I like that.
It's a good one, right? He's reminding us that, accountability doesn't have to be all about deprivation and punishment.
Yeah, it's not about beating yourself up.
It's also about recognizing and celebrating our wins.
Giving yourself credit where credit is due.
Exactly. It's about striking that balance
Yeah.
between, pushing ourselves and acknowledging our progress.
Right, not just focusing on what we haven't done, but really savoring those moments when we've actually, followed through on our commitments.
And I think it all circles back to remembering that accountability is a journey, not a destination.
It's ongoing.
It is. There will be times when we stumble, we make mistakes, or, we just feel like giving up.
It's inevitable.
It is. But it's in those moments that we have the greatest opportunity for growth and learning.
It's where the real magic happens.
It is.
So to our listener, as you continue on your own accountability journey, remember to embrace Twisty's, unique wisdom. Find your WHY, create a system that supports you, celebrate those wins, and don't be afraid to face those challenges head on.
And if you ever find yourself, questioning your commitment or feeling lost in the chaos, remember that you do have the power to choose accountability.
You always have a choice.
You do. You can always step back into alignment with your values.
Yeah.
And create a life that truly reflects your deepest desires.
What a great reminder. And until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.